This segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. All right, it's that time again. Good vibes time. Martin Falls, Debbie Cox DeNova is in the house, and she, of course, is our transformation coach. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Everything's cool?
Everything's great.
Digital overload. Wow. That's the topic. Protecting ourselves from digital overdose, I think you have.
Yeah.
Overload, overdose.
Same difference.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right, please tell me how to do this and how to make people around me do it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing is that first of all, we have to acknowledge that there's an issue, right?
Yeah.
In 2007, a highly addictive drug gets released into the general public. Within 15 years, over half of the population is using this drug on a daily basis. It's resulting in a mental health crisis, stress, anxiety, suicide is going up, especially in young girls. Mm-hmm. About 3,000 traffic accidents are accounted for each year because of impaired driving because of this drug. And you would think that the mental health community would be addressing this because this constitutes quite a problem, right? The problem, though, is that the drug that was released is our smartphones. Mm-hmm. And academia cannot keep up with the level of addiction that we are seeing here. We're actually seeing developing brains becoming addicted through the process of development. And actually, the psychiatrist's Bible, the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, doesn't even have a diagnosis for addiction to phone. Okay, they have a diagnosis for if someone gets sucked up into a jet engine, right, and needs medical care, but nothing for the addiction to phones. And we all know this is an actual addiction, mm-hmm. right? So the first order of business we know with any addiction is to admit that there is a problem, okay, and to look at that problem and actually be able to address it. Because even though we as parents would never offer our young children, smokes or drugs or mm-hmm. pornography, right, we are considered to be good parents sometimes whenever we hand over a gaming device or a smartphone to our young teenagers. And the studies are actually showing very disturbing results as a consequence to doing this, and then addressing it so that we can kind of get to the root of it.
Let's call it the ding-a-ling syndrome.
Ding-a-ling. Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing about that is that what's happening here is that all the apps that we're using on our phones, first of all, we've never seen this level of super addiction, right? If you look at the phone itself, you have a number of potential addictions there. You have social media, you have pornography, you have sports gambling, you have shopping, you have instant messaging. All of these actually engage our dopamine system in a very addictive way. And the creators of these apps absolutely know that we have a dopamine system that when it's treated a specific way and it has just the right amount of dings at the right pace, just like mm-hmm. gambling, right? It causes that dopamine system that we have. And the dopamine system, of course, is designed to have us pursue something. It's for satisfaction, mm-hmm. okay? But that pursuit is really important because way back when, if we found a source of food, maybe a berry bush or something like that, our dopamine system would engage and it would cause us to keep returning back to that bush to get more and more and more. Mm-hmm. Now, when you hijack that dopamine system for the use of these apps or the social media, the gaming, all of that, and they very much do, it's like ding, ding, ding. Mm-hmm. What you have is what's called a compulsion loop. And the compulsion loop is the same that we see in people who are addicted to cocaine, to tobacco, right? Mm-hmm. It actually engages a part of your brain that says more, more, more. Now, just to give you a comparison about how addictive this actually is, at the peak of the tobacco addiction, that mm-hmm. it was 1954, about 45% of the population was actually using tobacco. But in America right now, we see that 97% of Americans have a phone, and over half of them are saying that they actually feel addicted to their mm-hmm. phones. Okay. What does addiction look like? Addiction in anything has a series of things that we need to look at. So at home right now, be honest with yourself as I read through this list to see if whether or not you're actually showing signs of addiction where it comes to your phone, and especially think about your children and teenagers as well, okay? Number one, you have an increase in satisfaction and drive from the device. You are willing to use it hazardously, like driving in a car, mm-hmm. Risking lives in order to have it. You have impaired social function, like maybe you're isolating or you're giving up social roles in order to engage more on the phone. You experience withdrawals and cravings when you cannot have it or you don't have it. You have an increased tolerance, which leads to overuse of it. You're trying to cut back, but you're unable to. You are spending more time than anticipated on it, so you can't set boundaries and rules around it. You find yourself just doing more and more and more, and you're giving up hobbies to use it. Okay? How did you do on that list?
I did pretty good.
Yeah, because you're not that addicted to your phone.
No,
you're
I'm
one
not.
of the rare
I'm
few
not.
who's, yeah.
But I've been around people that are, and it drives me bat blank crazy.
Right. And here's the thing: is it's from a number of different. You're hearing teachers saying the children are not the same anymore. They're actually, it actually impairs the brain's ability to engage in real life. It's almost like the teachers are reporting that you're getting this blank stare of like vacancy there. Like they are just really waiting to get back to what they want. Right. Like real life is this break between what they really actually want to do.
The only reason I keep my phone near me all the time is because of Mom.
Well, sure, of course.
Yeah.
And it's got a positive side. It really, I mean, we're using it for work and productivity. It's not all villainous, but that's usually the case when it comes to addiction, right? There is a positive part of it that we're using, and we just need to manage it and understand how it's hijacking our dopamine systems.
Why don't we make a deal? Everybody goes to Bayou Black on Saturday.
Yeah.
And on 3, 2, 1, we all throw it in the
Throw it in the fire.
But I know some people are going to throw it and they're going to reach into their pocket for the second phone.
Or dive in, like, I'll save you.
All right, we'll be right back. Digital overdose. You got to listen. We'll be back. This segment was brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Feels like home. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. This segment is brought to you by Gin Gators. We sink our teeth into service. All right, we're back. Good vibes. Debbie Cox DeNova. We're talking about digital overdose. Let me bring this to you. So, if you're a guy, you got a girlfriend, a wife. If you're a girl, got a boyfriend, a husband. And if you're one not to use your phone all the time, and when you get home, you want a little quiet time, and your partner's phone is ding, ding, ding. Did my expression show?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, whatever happened going home and watching Happy Days or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and here's the thing is that this is what is happening in so many different arenas, and we don't know where the end of this actually goes. It's relationships, right? We don't recognize how much we're trading actual interactions with the people that we care about for scrolling, right? Babies at this point are competing with the smartphone for their parents' attention. So all the time that would typically be connection time, developmental time is being compromised for the sake of the phone. Relationships are not being enriched to the way that they could. And in a lot of ways, the phone presents a portal not only of distraction, but a portal through which in relationships you can actually be entertaining other options, right? So that's a whole thing that's kind of, there's a lot.
It makes it too easy.
It makes it very easy. We weren't designed for this level of accessibility to the world.
This. When we were growing up, and I'm older than you, but for half of my life, we had no phones. We'd go on the phone and dial it.
Yeah, but I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So we had no phone. Later in life, the phones come up. I feel like I'm being robbed of my innocent days.
Yeah.
Because there's no more innocent day.
Yeah.
Whereas the younger people that have been born with it in their hand, they're kicking right along.
They're kicking right along, but what we're finding through the research is that when a baby, especially a baby, the younger, the worse it is, right? When a developing brain is developing through addiction, everything else comes secondary. So especially with the advent of AI, right? At this point, kids are able to outsource whole essays, speeches, where we had the opportunity to use our creative abilities and the creative centers of our brain. This new crop of kids coming up they don't need to, right? So they're not exercising parts of the brain that we had to quite naturally to get by. They're able to use, so we're kind of dumbing down our children. This is an emergency that we need to address like this. And then we're talking about this new crop of people who are in the workforce as well. I talked to a lot of business owners who are saying, it's really difficult for me to find someone who fits this job. This has never been like this before. It's the addiction to the phone, yes, like they can't disengage from it, so they're still doing it at work, or just a sort of lower work ethic, less patience for the disturbances of life, that blank stare, not being able to socially engage the way that we used to. It's in a lot of different ways. I mean, we talk about literally myopia is up, the nearsightedness, right? So in the 70s, it was a quarter of North America had myopia, and now it's half. And in parts of Asia, 80 to 90% of people have myopia, and that's from the phones, right? The blue light from the screens right before bedtime, those actually disrupt the circadian rhythms, which we know are extremely important, not only to mental health, but also to your physical health, because if you're not getting as much recuperative sleep at night, you actually put yourself at risk for diabetes, for heart conditions, obesity, cancer, all sorts of things actually increase, comorbidities increase with this addiction.
But herein lies the problem. The younger generation's taking over. They're going to be the ones ruling the world.
Yeah.
They all are addicted to phones.
Yes. Yes, and we are growing up in a digital age, so it's important for, I think, our children to understand how to navigate this technology, because it's really going to be the way that they actually compete in the workforce. But we really do need to talk about setting limits, holding these app developers accountable for the addiction that they're creating, and actually, hopefully, from the DSM catches up and creates a diagnosis so we can actually track this and actually create a solution for it. But at home, parents, especially, there are some things that you can do to help your children. But one thing you need to remember is that as you're removing phones, you don't want it to be a punishment. You want it to feel like empowerment. So you need to educate your children on exactly why this is so addictive, so that they understand why it's happening, and then have a discussion about how do you feel when you've been on the phone for a little while, and then create rituals within the home where there is white space. First hour when you wake up. Harvard University.
About a date night without a phone.
Yes, absolutely. Tech Sabbaths, where for a whole day, you're actually doing things that are engaging and joyful to the dopamine system. Remember, once you take away the phone, that's like junk food, candy, right? You have to get your dopamine system used to things that are less attractive, if you will, and start to actually regulate your system. So you want to actually engage them in a way where it's like, okay, the first hour, no phone. During meals, no phone. We put it in a basket and we offer up our full attention to life, right? So that we can actually feel better in our bodies. Harvard University says 2 to 3 hours before bed, no phone. So we actually start to create some agency here. But the younger children, the babies, the young children, they should not be having phones at all. We should be delaying this as long as possible, and then setting strict limits on it. You want to set a timer on the phones and put a password on it. You want to take away the phones before bedtime, because a lot of these teens, and it's really important, imperative. Sleep is imperative for mental health, but also development. A lot of teens are staying up all night on their phones.
It's bad when your 2-year-old knows how to answer the phone. Hello? What's up, dog?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
And answering the phone is the least of our worries, right? Yeah. It's the apps that are getting us. So, yes.
Right. Buy you black on Saturday.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you next week on another Good Vibes. This segment was brought to you by Trap Chevrolet. We're always on your side.